Think about two people facing the exact same crisis. Same job loss, same painful breakup, same sudden health diagnosis. 6 months later, one of them is rebuilding. They are clearer about what they want, more decisive, more present than they were before. They will tell you, quietly, without performing it, that going through that thing changed them. That they are somehow more themselves on the other side of it than they were before it happened. The other person is still in pieces. Not because they are weaker, not because they care less, not because they failed to try, but because the same event, the same objective level of difficulty, broke something in them that has not yet found a way to heal. Why? What is the actual difference between these two people? Is it genetics? Is it upbringing? Is it simply luck? And most importantly, is it something that can be changed? Today, I want to answer that question, because the difference between people who emerge from stress stronger and people who fall apart under it is not what most people think it is. It is not toughness. It is not positivity. It is not even experience. It is something far more specific and far more learnable than any of those things. Let us start with what the research actually shows. Because the intuitive explanation for why some people handle stress better is almost always wrong. Most people assume it is about the amount of stress, that the people who fall apart simply had more thrown at them, or that the people who emerge stronger had it easier. But study after study in the psychology of resilience shows that this is not the case. Two people can experience objectively identical stressors and have radically different outcomes. The stress itself is not the determining variable. What matters is what happens inside the person in response to it. The second wrong assumption is that resilient people simply feel less, that they are somehow more detached, less sensitive, less emotionally affected by difficult things. This is also not true. Research consistently shows that highly resilient people feel the difficulty of hard situations fully. They are not numb to it. They do not bypass the pain. What is different is not the depth of what they feel. It is what they do with the feeling once they have felt it. And the third wrong assumption is that resilience is a fixed trait, that you either have it or you do not, that some people were born with the capacity to handle adversity, and others simply were not. This is the most damaging myth of the three, because it turns resilience into something outside your control, and the evidence says otherwise. So what is it? What is actually different about the person who gets stronger under stress? Psychologist Richard Tedeschi spent decades studying what he called post-traumatic growth, the phenomenon where people do not just recover from difficult experiences, but actually develop in meaningful ways because of them. His research found that the people most likely to grow through adversity shared a specific cognitive pattern. Not optimism, not toughness, something he called narrative flexibility. Narrative flexibility is the ability to update the story you tell about what is happening to you. When something goes wrong, we all tell ourselves a story about it, and the stories fall into two very different categories. One category is, "This is happening to me. I am the victim of circumstances outside my control, and this event defines what is possible for me now." The other is, "This is happening, it is hard, and I have some agency in how I respond to it and what it means." The first story closes possibilities. The second holds them open. And the remarkable thing is that this is not about denying the difficulty. The most resilient people Tedeschi studied did not minimize what they had been through. They acknowledged it fully. But they refused to let the event become the final word on their lives. They kept authorship of their own story, even when they had lost control of the plot. Now I want to talk about what actually happens in the body and brain when stress becomes too much. Because understanding why some people fall apart is just as important as understanding why others do not. When we encounter a stressor, the brain's stress response system activates. Cortisol rises, the body mobilizes its resources, and we enter a state of heightened alertness designed to help us deal with the challenge. For acute short-term stress, this is enormously useful. It sharpens focus, boosts energy, and can actually enhance performance. But when the stress is chronic, when it does not resolve, when it keeps coming, when there is no period of safety in between, something different happens. The stress response system stays activated long past its design duration, and a system running on emergency mode indefinitely begins to break down. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for rational thinking, perspective-taking, and emotional regulation, starts to go offline. Decision-making deteriorates. Emotional reactions become harder to modulate. The capacity to see beyond the immediate crisis shrinks. This is why people under chronic stress make worse decisions, struggle to access their own values and judgment, and often feel like a diminished version of themselves. They are not being weak. Their brain is being physiologically overwhelmed. The hardware is struggling under a load it was not built to sustain indefinitely. And here is the crucial insight from neuroscience. The people who fall apart under stress are not failing to use their resilience. They are often people whose stress response system never got adequate recovery time, who never had the experience, early or often enough, of going through something hard and coming out the other side. Because resilience at the neurological level is built through cycles of stress and recovery. Not stress alone, not recovery alone. The cycle, the going through and coming out. That is what builds the neural architecture of durability. There is one more piece to this that I believe is the most important of all, and it is the one that Viktor Frankl identified from the most extreme possible laboratory, the Nazi concentration camps, and that decades of subsequent research have confirmed in far less extreme circumstances. People who find meaning in their suffering, not in spite of it, but through it, are dramatically more likely to survive it intact. And more than intact, changed in ways that matter. Frankl watched people die in conditions of identical objective horror. And what he observed was that the people who survived, who maintained their psychological integrity under circumstances designed to destroy it, were almost always people who had a why, a reason to endure, a sense that their suffering was connected to something beyond the immediate experience of the suffering itself. This is not about toxic positivity. It is not about pretending that hard things are good. It is about the human capacity to take something that has happened to you, something you did not choose, something that hurt you, and find within it some thread of meaning that makes the enduring of it worthwhile, that transforms it from something that simply happened into something that became part of who you are. Research by psychologist Crystal Park has shown that meaning-making after adversity is one of the single strongest predictors of psychological recovery. Not the absence of negative emotion, not the speed of recovery, the presence of meaning. The answer, however partial and uncertain, to the question, what does this make possible that was not possible before? So let me bring this into the practical. Because everything I have described, narrative flexibility, recovery cycles, meaning-making, these are not just things that happen to lucky people. They are things that can be practiced, developed, deliberately built. The first practice is what psychologists call cognitive reappraisal, the deliberate act of finding an alternative interpretation of a stressful event. Not a false one, not a forced one, but a genuine question. Is there another way to see this? What might this be making possible? What is this requiring me to develop that I would not have developed otherwise? This is not positivity. It is flexibility. And the research on cognitive reappraisal is among the most robust in all of emotion science. It consistently reduces the physiological stress response, not just the subjective experience of it. The second thing is building recovery into your life as a non-negotiable, not as a reward for surviving the stress, as a structural requirement. sleep, movement, periods of genuine rest where the nervous system is not being asked to perform. The cycle of stress and recovery is how resilience is built. Without the recovery, the stress just accumulates. And accumulated stress does not make you stronger. It makes you brittle. And the third thing, the deepest thing, is to start asking, after hard experiences, not just what happened to me, but what did I learn about myself? What did this reveal? What did I find out I was capable of that I did not know before? These questions do not erase the difficulty, but they begin the process of turning experience into wisdom. And wisdom, unlike pain, compounds over time. Here's what I want to leave you with. The difference between people who get stronger under stress and people who fall apart is not a difference in how much they can feel or how much they can endure. It is a difference in the relationship they have with difficulty itself. Whether they experience hard things as proof that life is against them, or as material, raw, painful, unwelcome material that can be worked with. That relationship is not fixed, it is built through small acts of reappraisal, through cycles of stress and genuine recovery, through the practice of asking, what does this mean, rather than only, why is this happening to me? None of this is easy, none of it is fast, but all of it is possible. And the evidence, from Frankl in the camps, from Tedeschi in his decades of research, from neuroscience and from the lives of people who have walked through fire and come out changed rather than destroyed. The evidence says something worth holding on to, that human beings are not just capable of surviving adversity, they are capable of being shaped by it, of becoming, through the very things that tried to break them, more fully and completely themselves. Leave a comment below. Have you ever gone through something hard and come out stronger? Or has there been something that broke you in ways that have not yet healed? I want to hear from you. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if this resonated, and I will see you in the next one.